Welcome to Explore. My name is Mary Ruth Snyder, and I am the host and also the executive director for the Campbell River and District Chamber of Commerce. My very special guest today for this episode of Explore is Mr. Ken Blackburn, who is the executive director for the Campbell River Arts Council and in charge of all public programming for the Museum at Campbell River. We are so pleased to have you with us today, Ken. How are you?
I am doing very well, thank you, Mary Ruth, and it's a pleasure to see you again and to chat again.
Yes. Well, here we are 2 years into the pandemic, which has now been dubbed an epidemic or an endemic, I guess they're calling it now. And people are starting to really have itchy feet wanting to get out and explore. Have you noticed an increase in inquiries and calls at the museum about upcoming programs and exhibitions?
Absolutely. Yes, I think all indicators are we're in for a really busy tourist season. I think people are coming back up island and showing up. I know from talking with our business partners that bookings are already taking place and are filling up. I know from hospitality that, hotel rooms are already booked. So in fact, our first public program in quite a while was our Steam Donkey event a few weeks ago, and we had close to 500 people show up for that. So, which is by far the most we've ever had. So yes, I think indicators are showing this is going to be a very busy summer season.
Now, what are you most excited about in the next 6 months?
Well, I mean, that's a broad spectrum to answer. There's a lot of things coming up. I think more than anything, our Art and Earth initiative, which is kind of a coalition of a lot of partners, the museum and the gallery, the Tide Mark, downtown BIAs, Greenway Land Trust, the aquarium. This is emerging as I think the new way to approach community engagement and community development. Any topic or issue of discussion in terms of looking as to how we should move forward needs to be talked about across sectors, whether it's social, cultural, economic, environmental, answers and or processes. It can't just be done with, kind of one magic bullet answer or one sector. It has to be across sectors. And so it requires partnerships. And okay. Campbell River's done a really good job, I think, in the last number of years of creating strong partnerships across sectors. And for example, with Art and Earth this year, we're seeing the aquarium and greenways, working with the art gallery and council museum, to work together to not just educate the community, but to engage the community and and try to have discussions about where we need to go and what it is that we have that's so valuable here.
Now, has the Art and Earth Festival already had one event this year?
Yes, and we've moved it from a festival to an initiative, as
Okay.
I say, just to try to be more seasonally appropriate and year round instead of people tend to think of a festival as being, a weekend event or a few day event, but we are trying to target the calendar in a sense. And we did partner with the aquarium on their film night at River City Stage already. But in a sense, we were more or less launching the initiative on Earth Day at the end of April, working with Greenways and the new Beaver Lodge Trust and the museum hosting an event at River City to talk about the history of Beaver Lodge. So Earth Day, and then we'll target Oceans Day, and then we'll target Rivers Day in the fall. And then we'll still cooperate or work with the Fall Festival at Haig Brown House, the annual Haig Brown Lecture, and we have a new Art and Earth lecture this year. So all of these events are being clumped into kind of the yearly calendar.
Now, has there been any involvement with the school district in any way or the college at this point, or is that something that's on the radar for the future?
I think on the radar for the future. It's difficult to build everything at once.
Yes.
We work with the school district and schools in a lot of capacities now, anyways. For them to be part of sort of the Art and Earth initiative, it will be something we build. We did work with them last year with looking at pollinator gardens and the use of gardens in schools. We work with the schools all the time with our Haig Brown Writer in Residence program. Um, so we've got a connection with the schools anyways. What it looks like for the initiative moving forward, I can't say yet, but absolutely at some point that will become a key partner for us.
And the way you work with the schools currently, tell us about that program, because that's starting right now in the spring, isn't it?
Which pro you mean the Writer in Residence program or the
banners?
Okay. The annual banner project is, of course, another yearly Arts Council program. And yes, that is just unfolding right now. Because this is the year of the garden, we are going with gardens as our theme and flowers as our theme. So banners are going out to the schools now with the paint and the supplies and the stretchers. And I think it's going to be a really fun year for banners because of the theme being gardens and flowers. They're going to be extremely colorful. And I think it's just a great way to acknowledge the year of the garden, and also working with our partner this year, which is the Chamber of Commerce, which I'm sure you know well, Mary Ruth. But it will be great visibility for the Chamber and their 90th anniversary with floral theme through the city. It's going to be beautiful.
Now, maybe break down the logistics for us. What does that look like when you say you're delivering the banners and the paints to the schools? What happens at that point?
Well, we have a relationship with particular teachers and or classes and grades in the schools. Every year we communicate with the classrooms, with the teachers, and see how many they'd like to produce. And then we deliver the infrastructure to them. The banners go on stretchers that make them easier to paint with the paint. Okay. And then, hopefully we also have some kind of informational package that goes to them that describes what the theme is. Gardens will be a little bit easier this year. Everybody, I think, has a good handle on gardens, but also a little bit of information about who our partners are. And that's one aspect of the program, is the school kids producing them. But we also, because of the pandemic, we started home delivery to families, and we're just going to continue doing that because families were really receptive to it. It can be difficult for them to get to a painting spot to paint, but when we bring it right to their house, the kids are thrilled. So we're getting a lot more families involved that way by home delivery of the same kits that we give to the schools. Oh,
that's awesome. I would suspect that this year will be very creative. Well, I'm sure every year is creative, but to tell a school child that the theme is gardens, well, everybody has a different flower, different color, different tree. Like, I'm sure you're going to get a wide variety of banners this year.
I think so too, and they'll be extremely colorful. So I think we're in for a banner year, all pun intended.
When do
for the banner project
actually get hung up?
They'll go up sometime at the beginning of June.
Okay.
End of May, beginning of June. The city hangs them for us. The city's a partner, of course, with the banner project and has been for 20 years now.
Yeah.
So they'll go up, and then they'll come down when the Christmas things go up, usually around the beginning of November.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize they stayed up that long. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Now, with the programs at the museum, is there any one program that stands out in your mind that has continued to stand the test of time and you've had to adjust it very little and it still is a favorite?
I think no doubt it's our writer in residence program at Haig Brown
Okay.
House. Every year we have a nationally recognized writer in the Haig Brown House, basically generally from November through till April, and we attract, as I say, the top writers in the country, and we don't, the main thrust of that program is for the writer to have a dedicated period of time to be able to work on whatever project they're working on. And generally, we try to make that about 60% of their time. So we don't have to touch that every year. That's the writer's time in the house.
Okay.
But the community outreach we tweak depending on what the writers of the that's in town, what they want to do. Some really like to work with schools. Some really like to run on one-on-one with writers. Some like to give workshops and public talks. So depending on what they're interested in, that's the only part of that program we tweak. But really, that just continues to be a success year after year.
Now, was there a writer this year? I know the last couple of years you couldn't have one because of the pandemic, but was there a writer this year? Is there one right now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Danny Ramadan is here.
Okay.
Yeah, and he is very popular. In fact, we're having an event with Danny at the Harriet Bay Inn, which is an afternoon workshop with him, and then a dinner and music evening with him as a guest speaker on when is that? April 23rd.
Oh, okay.
So that will be our next event with him. He's been really popular in the schools. And he's been really popular with individual writer consultations. So very successful residency again this year.
And when do you make the decision? What is the timeline for choosing the next writer?
Now. So I've been receiving applications all through the winter and up till, in fact, the deadline was March 31st, so just yesterday.
All right.
So they're coming in right at the last minute as well. So the deadline was yesterday, and then we'll select the writer sometime in the next 4 to 6 weeks, and then make arrangements, make sure the writer's still able to come, and then make the plans for November.
Okay. So they arrive in November and stay through till April.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, that must make one part of your job, I'm sure your jobs are very, very interesting because every day is something different for you. And I would be remiss to acknowledge that you are an artist in your own right. So how do you find time to work on your own artwork when you are so involved in creating the public programming and running the Arts Council?
Yeah. Well, that's the challenge, of course. And I, for years, I also taught at Emily Carr, so I had 3 jobs. It is it's the private practice, it's the art practice that gets stressed. It is difficult to find time. I think in my career here, I've probably done, well over 800 programs.
Wow.
And so, it's a challenge. But yeah, I keep working when I can, and it's something I'm looking forward to post, Arts Council museum career, to get back to my studio practice, and which has, been a little bit neglected, but I think any working artist knows that that's a challenge as to how to keep your art career going when you need another job to survive. So it's tough. Right.
What is your favorite medium to work in?
Well, my background is sculpture. I love sculpture. It's a little more challenging in terms of studio space, but I think my first love now is collage. I work a lot with paper collage, especially global papers, papers from Southeast Asia, from Japan. I'm really liking a lot of African papers. And recently my work has just started to go back to the very simple wallpapers. So I think I like paper as my kind of mode of choice now.
Okay. Now, you snuck a statement in there about what you're going to do post jobs. You're not thinking of retiring, are you?
Well, I think we have to face it at some point. I'm thinking about it probably within the next year or so. Yeah, I mean, it's coming time. I've been working, my God, since I was like 16 years old. So, we're
Yes,
looking at
but that was
40
only 20
years. So.
years ago, Ken.
Oh, yes. Well, that's true. I'm getting confused. That's right. I'm thinking of I'm on the Freedom 85 plan. Oh no, I'm sorry, the Freedom 55 plan. Yeah.
Okay. So, would you are you considering at some point in the next couple of years stepping back from both positions at the same time, or would you let one go and then the next one? Like,
I
is it
think
really
I'd probably
practical?
stag.
Yeah.
I think I'd probably stagger it. Yeah,
Okay.
I'll leave one and keep with the other. I want to put a good succession plan in place. I want to make sure that both organizations are well positioned for moving forward in
Yes.
terms of programming and in terms of operations at the Arts Council. So when I feel comfortable that everything's stable, I think I'll seriously consider what next. Yeah,
Okay.
we'll see.
All right. Now, one of the things that has been very challenging through the pandemic is to continue the engagement with the schools, except you have been able to successful in that with the banner program. Now, with the public programming coming back, and I know that the educational program is not under your purview, but is there an uptick in the school programs at the museum as well now, as well as the public programs?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, schools are coming back. Yeah, everything seems to be returning. I hate the term returning to normal. I
Yeah.
hope we don't go back to the old normal. It's time to change a lot of what we do. But there's no doubt that things are resurfacing again. People are becoming a little bit more adventurous and a little more comfortable. I think the vaccines have helped a lot for people to kind of relax a bit. We're not out of it yet, though. I mean,
Yeah.
we have to pay attention to the science still. This is a virus. This isn't some kind of political discussion. And so we're told we're not out of it yet, but I think most people are at least more hopeful now than perhaps they have been, a year ago. So.
If there was if there's an artist out there watching this and they might have an interest in working with the Art Council, how would they get involved in that with you?
Just contact the Arts Council.
Okay.
Just Google Campbell River Arts Council. You'll get my email address, arts.council@crarts.ca. You'll find it there. And just send me an email and tell me what's up. And I love meeting, especially people when they come to town. They're just kind of searching for what the town's about, what's going on. I love meeting with them and, kind of giving sort of the lay of the land, so to speak, where we're at, the kinds of things we'd like to try to do, and see if there's a place for them to participate, which there generally always is, even if it's just our annual member show. And just see what resources come to town. It's a great, people come with all kinds of new talents and new specialties, and we're always open to moving forward and evolving. I mean, that's what a healthy community does, and I think Campbell River is on a really positive, strong trajectory right now into the future. We need new thinking, though. I would say that, and I think we're on our way, though, for some new developments.
And is the Art Council, do they consider bringing on new board members as they come forward, or is that something you do just once a year?
No, when people's terms are up, we have a couple of terms that are finishing this year, and we've had a few people step forward that are interested. So it's an ongoing discussion about the board as well. I think that's a sign of a healthy board. You're always in conversations with people who are interested, and some people don't want to serve on the board, but they certainly want to assist somehow with what we do. So
Right.
those discussions are ongoing all the time.
Okay. And with the museum at Campbell River, there's also a board of directors there as well, isn't there?
Of course, yes.
Okay. And is that also something that it's ongoing, or it's just as terms finish and you're looking for new members there?
I think generally it's as terms finish, you
Okay.
look for new members. I think, most boards, that's the way that they would run. When I say ongoing discussions, generally you'll wait till the AGM to make the transfer. You can bring in new board members, but generally
Right.
you work on the yearly cycle of your AGM. So
Okay.
the museum does that, and most organizations work that way.
Now, what is your hope for the next 5 years for the Campbell River arts community?
I think the biggest hope is to have more of these cross-sector partnerships, and to recognize just what a valuable resource and tool the arts are in what we call community development. And I don't care if we're talking economic development or social development, cultural, environmental. We're all in this together. It's not a cliche. We move together in a community,
Okay.
and everybody's got to be contributing in the the most dynamic manner that they can, or efficient manner. And the arts are an absolutely essential partner for any kind of social service, any kind of economic development, tourism. Um, you know, we really need to be paying more attention to how the arts can integrate into assisting other organizations with what their missions are. And we've
Okay.
been developing that over the last few years, but we've still got a long way to go. We still need to be spending much more time talking about the role of culture especially in tourism and overall economic development. Those conversations do happen from time to time, but I think they need to pick up a little bit more, a little stronger traction. Um, and so over the next 5 years, I would hope that it starts to just become much more normalized and accepted, that any discussion we're having, whether it's, dealing with homeless situations downtown, or dealing with drug and alcohol challenges, or housing challenges, environmental challenges, awareness and education, cultural communication, immigrant center, working with First Nations bands, just developing a really healthy sort of cultural, social, economic ecosystem in town, recognizes that the arts are a resource that can assist, I would say, almost any organization to improve their education, their understanding, and whatever it is their mission is. So that would be my hope for the next 5 years.
Well, thank you for sharing that. That's very, very an astute observation, I would say. Now, in your experience over the last few years, have you witnessed an increase in the integration of the Indigenous culture and art into the general population in some capacity?
I think Campbell River has always been healthy that way. I mean, our relationships here have been solid. They're foundational. In fact, I know, especially from the museum, that without the input of some very key band members and families, like the Henderson family, Bill Henderson, and the legacy coming from his father, and the work of the carving shed, has always been solid and always been supportive. I know a lot of communities around the province, can struggle with relationships with the local bands, but I don't think Campbell River. I think Campbell River is ahead of the curve in that sense. I mean, not every issue is easily resolved. Some things are more complex than others, but
Right.
overall, culturally, the relationships with the local bands here, I think, is excellent, and we're seeing a lot, really strong rise in cultural tourism here,
Mhm.
and adventure tourism. There's a huge interest in kind of First Nation traditions and relationships to the land and areas, and their knowledge of wildlife, knowledge of plants. All of that, I think, is on the upswing, and I think we're well positioned to work really strongly together here.
In closing, what would you like all of us to go away and think about?
Oh, well, that's a profound question. First of all, I'd love to see us just stop with the increasing polarity in culture. I don't know what has happened to the political system that has just become absolutely polarized, as I say. We need to be finding a middle ground and talking more. We need to really reduce anxiety and fear in communities. We can do that through our events and through our, as I said before, cross-sector partnerships. Just start having a common discussion and kind of a common sharing of what's at risk of being lost, first of all, and really just how fortunate and how progressive and advanced we actually are, not just in this country, but certainly within this community. All we have to do is look at Eastern Europe right now with Russia, Ukraine, to see how quickly it goes off the rails, and it's tragic. And we have to be vigilant in working together, and not forget that the pandemic and the Ukrainian war, for example, have distracted us from environmental challenges. Those do not go away and are actually increasing all the time in the severity. So we need to keep these discussions going, but we need to be doing it in a shared manner that we're working together with. So I would hope that we come away with confidence in our neighbors and confident that we can work together and quit screaming at each other.
All right. Well, no screaming here. Ken, thank you so much for your time today and your insights and sharing your thoughts and emotions with us around culture and arts and the integration and how important it is for our community moving forward. I really appreciate your time today.
Oh, always a pleasure, Mary Ruth, to chat with you, and keep up the great work that you're doing in town as well. We're all in this together. I don't say that lightly. What you do, we're all contributing. So
we are. You've been watching Explore right here on Shaw Spotlight. I'm Mary Ruth Snyder. Please join us again.